The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.
Welcome to Real Estate Milestones, where we explore fascinating topics in commercial real estate with knowledgeable industry experts. I'm your host, Ben Malik, and I'm a young real estate professional who is passionate about adding value to people's lives through the incredible power of real estate. My goal is to help you discover what the heck is going on in the industry and how you can get involved. This is Real Estate Milestones, where your future in real estate lies just around the corner. Hello, everybody. This is Ben, and I'm coming to you from New Orleans. We got Raju Datla. Where are you recording from, Raju?
From Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Well, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. So let's go back to my background. I guess I'll go from my background. Obviously, I am people who can see me. I'm from India a long time ago, 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago now. I came to do my master's computer science. My background is computer science, everything about computer science. I did computers when basically we had green boxes, from mainframe punch boxes to everything now. So anyway, was 20-year career there, 25 plus years career in computers, software development, leadership roles, and all that stuff. But a little over 4 years ago, I pivoted. A little bit history there was, 4 years ago, divorced, and I was looking for options, mostly thinking about startups. Another startup, because I was involved in a startup, it didn't work out. I was looking for another startup. And then somebody, my ex-boss hit me up with a business, and it kind of started as a side hustle. Now I'm, planning it to be full-time hustle, but basically that's what led to real estate story. Basically what it was we provide services for homes and businesses, basically utilities, internet, TV, all that stuff. And for real estate investors, it was another avenue to make extra cash flow on their properties and stuff. And that's how I connected with a lot of real estate investors. And that led me about 3+ years ago to invest first time in a seller finance. And then pretty much, now I've done Airbnb, I've done a couple of other JV deals, now actively doing tax deeds. The biggest thing that did also for me, the whole services business, is personal development and personal growth. Became a junkie of it. Like back in 2017, I read Think and Grow Rich was my first book. Now, that wasn't the first book I ever read about personal development. Back when I was 21, I read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But at that time, my mind wasn't there where it is now. But now Dale Carnegie book, I've read it 15, 16 times. I read it every 5-6 months now, once to refresh myself. But yeah, that led me to a lot of personal development, podcasting, connecting with a lot of people, learning a lot about real estate and other avenues. So here I am now, I have business in real estate, I have business in services. I also have an IT business I recently started just like 2-3 weeks ago. So, and I have a full-time consulting gig. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff. There's many questions and a lot to unpack there. So great. Well, let's take it to the beginning. What was your first milestone in real estate? And if it was the deal, could you tell us a little bit about that? I think you mentioned your first deal.
Yeah, so like as I mentioned, so I was meeting a lot of real estate investors through my services business, and then that led me to someone I started getting to know someone for a year. He was a big time seller finance guy. We're talking big time in the sense he's done about 8,000 to 10,000 houses or more.
Can you just recap what seller financing is for anyone who might not know?
So seller finance is when there are two ways it can be described. It can be described seller finance or owner finance. There's different terms used for that. So, so basically what it is, and it can be done different ways. So we don't want to get into too much complication here. For basics is a person is being the bank when he sells it to a seller, and they're paying him the mortgage. He's the note holder.
Yeah, so instead of having a bank, the person who's selling to you is the one that you're paying the mortgage payments to. So it's kind of like
exactly.
They
and
have
he owns the note.
Right. Yeah. And they have the same, or they still are exposed to the real estate industry, but they don't have to do any of the hard labor work.
Exactly.
So
they don't have to take care of the toilets and, all that stuff. They still are making cash flow, right, from the, property they have, almost like a rental payment they're getting, except they don't have to take care of the, appliances, nothing. All the headaches of maintaining the house is going to the homeowner, who's paying a premium because he can't get the traditional loan.
great.
So
Yeah.
So that's where, that was my first deal. I didn't know anything about it. I know now a little bit about it, or more than a little bit about it now. But before, I had no idea about what it was. All I knew was the guy, and trusted him because he's helped me out with other things that he didn't gain anything from. And then when I said, hey, I want to dump it into some real estate, but I don't know much real estate, he said, yeah, give it to me. I'll take care of it. And yeah, that's how I started. And for a year, I didn't do anything else other than that. And then I jumped into Airbnb, and now a couple of passive investments, another couple of, and now tax deed, jumping into tax deed. So anyway.
Yeah. So it sounds like you got a pretty fortunate start, having a good connection. I mean, is networking a big part? I think I'm pretty sure that networking is a big part of your life, but would you attribute your enjoyment of networking to your finding your first deal? And can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, network is everything. It doesn't matter what business you're in, investing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Even if you're in a job, your success is dictated by your network. Your network is your network. That's number one thing to remember for anybody. If you do not have a network, then you're not going to do well in any line of work. Doesn't matter. As an IT guy, I wasn't big networking because I was so confident about my skill set. I didn't care. I would get paid highly anyway. Doesn't matter. Not that I was like a guy who like a Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or anything, but I do well. I can pay a good decent amount of money, so I never cared till I got into entrepreneurship. That's when I learned the critical part about networking. I was deemed an introvert, antisocial, actually, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. Versus now, people don't even who don't know me from before do not know the difference. Like, they don't think like, you an introvert, really? So
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
how dramatically the mental shift can be, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about that, that's where I became interested in people. So yeah, that led to networking, always being curious. As we talked about, I enjoy connecting people, so that creates a bigger network. Once you start connecting people, people would want to connect to you. So
Yeah, by no means do I think you're an introvert, or at least you don't come across as one. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess it may have to do with mindset, which we'll get into a little bit later in the show. But I was also wondering if you've had any failures in your entrepreneurship or real estate endeavors so far, and what have you learned from that, if so? And yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that?
So here's the thing to learn, right? There's no failures. There's only lessons learned. So, even let's say go to my, marriage, divorce, it's a 20-year marriage, right? So 21 years almost. It's not a failure. It's a lesson learned. Yeah, it's a long lesson, right? They're good and bad. There's no good right or wrong about it. It's just something, it wasn't a fit, and it didn't work out, but God gave kids and all that stuff. Similarly, in my job, here's the funny part. In my job, in my IT, I actually wrote this down a long time ago. Failures are stepping stones to success. Now, that a lot of people have said now, but at that time I didn't read it from anybody. I thought I came up with something great. But it wasn't, I guess it wasn't original. It was my own thing, but I only deemed it in like an IT terms. Because in IT, when you're doing, software development, whatever you're doing, the more mistakes you make, the more you learn, the faster you learn. So that was always evident to me, but I didn't learn that, put that into practice in business world or relationship world and all that stuff. I didn't translate that. But when I came to entrepreneurship, I realized that that's what it is. Failure is, I don't know, it's not a failure. It's just didn't work out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to be learned from your failures. And I mean, lots to learn from every experience, but definitely if you don't, I feel like in some ways, if you don't fail, you're not, not trying something ambitious enough. And I think I've heard some other people say that. But what I think is really interesting about what you're saying, and I happen to agree, is that some people can see failure as a bad thing, but also a learning experience. But for you, it seems like, failure is not even like the word failure. It has like a negative connotation, but like to you, it's just not. And, in a way it's different because now it's a mindset thing versus just a failure learning thing. So, I mean, could you elaborate a little bit more on how your mindset plays a role in this belief system and then in your life in general?
Sure. Now, I'm not saying, going back to failure, I'm not saying I don't get down on stuff when things don't work out the way I wanted to. I'm not saying that at all. Everybody will have that, right? We get those. Yeah. So in that case, yeah, I can go back to even Airbnb recently. I talked that, like, there's so many lessons learned there. Again, failures, because of failure, something failing, right? But I didn't get anything in real estate that was very dramatic. That I felt like was dramatic and unrecoverable. Nothing in life so far. I mean, the biggest thing was probably the divorce, because you don't get married to think you're getting a divorce. You get married to think your life, life for life married, right? That's how, well, normal people anyway. I don't know. Some people, they don't think maybe permanent, but anyway, in our culture anyway, that's how it's deemed. It's not just marriage between two people; it's marriage between two generations of families. So in that way, that's why I said, but there lots of bumps. I've learned, real estate wise, not too many bumps, because like, for example, the Airbnb, what I've learned is, one of the big lessons I learned, if I go back to lessons, is, before I get into the mindset part, is, having a good partner and really making sure you're on the same page is very important.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're bad people. It's just that you both are not on the same page. You're not working towards the same things. So that's one big lesson I learned. We are in good terms and everything, but it didn't work out the way, because I was envision having multiple properties and growing this big together. But they had different visions. They had different ways of doing things. I thought, it wasn't a pure partnership. It was purely a business, because partnership, I believe, has to have a good friendship too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the alignment of interest is something you were hitting on a little bit, and definitely to know that you're going the same direction is a big key. And I think also the biggest key is complementary skills. Like, maybe you're deficient in some respect, and you find a partner that can make up for that. And it's the who not how mentality in a way too, because if I want to close on a deal, am I going to first go to law school for 3 years, get a law degree, and then close on the deal? Or am I just going to hire a lawyer? And that same mindset can work with, any sort of partnership when you're trying to accomplish a goal that requires many skills that you might not necessarily have. So yeah, I think that's a really good lesson. And yeah, so I mean, let's take it a little bit more into the mindset part, 'cause I know you have some good points of views on there that I've learned a lot in our conversation so far. So yeah, could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So there's several things, right? So obviously, everything works off mindset. People, when mindset is many different things, right? That you can go in different directions about that. So a lot of people think it's just talking positive stuff, rah, 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 and all that stuff. That's great. Yes, that is critical, having a positive attitude and positive outlook. But what I've learned is also spirituality. So I was not, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, from age of 15 till probably 3.5 years ago, I deemed myself an atheist. So not a hardcore, like, oh, anybody talks to me about God or religion, I jump on them. No, I'm like, hey, you believe whatever, cool with me. Just don't expect me to believe what you believe in. As long as you're not going to, propagate violence and, say something nasty to me, I'm good with you. You do whatever. But that changed 3.5 years ago through my, personal development journey, when I realized science and God, whatever you deem, merge with quantum theory, quantum physics. And there's other theories, not to go, I forgot his name, but string theory. There's a lot of theory. You go into science, there's a merge there. So that got me into spirituality, mindset, imagination, meditation. I go deep into meditation. I've done a lot of deep stuff in meditation now, probably go even do deeper stuff in the future. I have some goals. But that's where, it started with the books. I've done things like Landmark. Anybody who hasn't had an introduction to Landmark, I would highly recommend them go looking into Landmark worldwide and doing courses there. It could be a game changer for them, life changer, not only for them, but people around them, family, friends, could be life changers for them. But yeah, that was the critical thing, because talking about introvert, that's how I went from introvert to extrovert, introvert. I would say I can be with myself for a day, 2, doesn't matter to me. I don't need anybody, but I can also be with people.
Yeah, that's a great mindset. And I resonate with that a lot personally. I also love how we just went into theology and astrophysics on a real estate podcast. But that's the awesome part of about podcasting for sure. And I love to talk about that stuff, because I spend a lot of my time thinking about the same thing. I think that some people might think that science and theology or religion or belief in God are mutually exclusive. Like, you can't believe in both. But I mean, why not have everything that is unknown be in the realm of, a higher power, and, the things that we can prove scientifically that, that's the things that we know exist, and we know how they work. So, I mean, like, some people say there's the God of the margins, which I think is a pretty interesting way of thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, also with quantum theory, there's all these interesting things. It's just like, wow, like, there's no way we can even figure this out, like with like quantum superposition with quantum entanglement. It's just like, we have no idea how these things actually work. It's just like it's very theoretical. So I think that, there's room for a higher being in consciousness and in science. So I like that. That's where we're going with this. Have any last thoughts before we speak about a little bit more real estate related topics?
Yeah, no, I wanted to, go back to the whole quantum theory. Is the whole thing about it is the notion that there's this all-powerful God up there is what I had an issue with before, right? That there's some one being there. That's where the notion is wrong, is having that notion that there's something, one powerful being. No, that's not what quantum theory, everything is proving right now. It's not about that. It's everybody's connected to each other. One thing is, we are all made up of the same thing. Everything in the world ultimately is energy. Ultimately is an energy. That's it. So doesn't matter what it's being made of. So then all these energies are connected, interconnected. That's what quantum theory and all these other theories prove. And that's what the whole law of attraction works, because you attract what you believe, truly believe, and think about, right? Which is basically the like attracting like. And that's the whole theory about, like, before that was the issue I had before, like, hey, where is this God up there? There's no God up there. But once I understood it's not God up there, it's God in you, God in plant, God in everything. It's the particles. We are all interconnected. And that kind of whole shifted for me. Then I started understanding, oh yeah, this makes sense. In thinking this really, this is where religion and spirituality kind of, I guess, separate. Religion is about a rigid set of structures, and religious teachings have a lot of good in it, and a lot of them teach the same thing.
Yeah, just in different ways. I agree.
Yeah, that's the people don't get, and a lot of them teach actually spirituality, not like one God, nothing. But people are stuck in their own thing, belief, what they're brought up with. The last word on that is, if anybody can read this book, Conversations with God, by I forgot the guy's name, but that's a must-read book if you want to read something about spirituality, going beyond your traditional thinking.
I really like I want to read that a lot, because I love reading on these topics. And my recommendations would be The Untethered Soul and The Power of Now. Both of those go into this.
Eckhart Tolle and Michael A. Singer. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing books.
Yeah, I mean, just completely changed the perspective and like allowed me to, see the world completely differently. Where like I'm going through life creating my own meaning rather than looking for meaning and searching for it in places, and that's the only way you really can do it. And I mean, it just completely shifted my philosophy from, how can I make money to how can I add value to the world. And
Right.
So I'm obsessed with adding value to the world. Part of my motivation for having this podcast. And I'm sure I'll get compensated for it in some way, but all I need is enough to live and be able to continue adding value. So yeah,
Awesome.
Definitely recommend all these books. Learned a lot and been really helpful in my life. Cool. So shifting back to real estate, what are you looking at now? I know you spoke a little bit about real estate deeds. I mean, I don't know if many people know what that is, but I think it's pretty interesting. Could you give us a little bit of background and then what you're looking at?
So yeah, tax deed means many people think it's tax liens, which lien is separate, different. So that's one thing about real estate is, if you're novice, then you got to understand, if you're someone who hasn't done much real estate, then you got to understand there's so many different ways to do real estate. So many different ways. And then second part of that is, do not try to do everything. Try to stick to 1 or 2, 3 different things, or 1, 2, 3 different things. Don't try to do everything. Then you get lost and you do nothing. So the tax,
that's where I am sometimes.
Yeah, when you're new, you kind of,
I'm feeling it
natural.
out. Yeah, there's so much to learn about. And look, I'm interviewing all these guests and they'll have this one or 2, 3 things. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Let's do that. And so every week I'm either shifting my focus or, at this point I just feel like I'm learning and deciding and, figuring out what's possible. And when I look back, I didn't even realize how much I've learned, but then I can have a conversation with anyone I've already heard of it. And then I can ask like educated questions and learn more. So it's good to have that base of a lot of things, but yeah.
That's what you learn when you talk to people. So tax deed is basically, not going into entire tax lien deed background, is basically you buy a property for the tax owed, which is sold by counties, states, whatever the case, cities. Every state is different. So it's only in certain states you can buy a tax deed property. So that's what I'm doing now, finding those properties. I got a mentor coach, essentially I paid for the coaching, working with him. And then, basically these will be pennies on the dollar. So a property worth, 60, 70K, I might get it for, $2,000 to $5,000. But finding them is the key point, that's the critical thing. You got to find that. That's what he's teaching me, how to find those. And the idea there is, if it's in a good shape, because most of them most likely are abandoned properties, right? They're not probably in a great shape. So at that point, if it's worth something, wholesale it off. But if luckily I get something in a pretty good shape, then just put a few $1,000s in, $4,000, $5,000, clean up whatever, do rent it out or do Airbnb on it. Because Airbnb is still on something I'm going to do. That's my intention, because I already kind of know the system and what to do there. Plus I found some resources recently that will make it easy for me to do Airbnb anywhere. So that's where my future is. But then, yeah, my goal is not just tech. I mean, I like passive investing or residual income. So the goal is I'll be investing in a lot of these commercial deals, multifamily, storage units, you name it, triple net leases, whatever comes my way, hotels. There's a lot of different options.
Yeah, when you're passive investor, you have to, I guess, understand the business plan to the most respect, but really leave it up to the operator if you're, trying to tinker in all these different places. But it's good for diversity, and there's a lot of pros, and there's a lot for each of them, and there's a lot of, benefits of individual deals, might make sense at certain times. So it's, I like how you specialize, but also keep your mind open to possibilities. That's really cool. And so, just to flesh out the tax deeds a little bit more. What I imagined was, I might be thinking of tax liens, but when you purchase a tax lien, you're pretty much, the municipality, doesn't want to pursue foreclosure, or doesn't want to, hunt this guy, like some homeowner down to get them to pay their taxes. But so they sell off these liens so that now you're the person who's collecting the taxes, and if you collect, you get a certain return because you get the tax money, or if they don't pay you, you get to foreclose, which is something the municipality doesn't want to deal with. So for deeds, is it already at the point where you're going to foreclose?
Yep. No, it's already been everything has been done. So they're at the point that the buyer, whatever the owner is, no longer in the picture, almost, pretty much. So they pretty much abandoned the property, kind of deal.
So how do you find these things? So this sounds like, a gold mine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the critical part. You got to go, again, I'm learning this myself. So it's pretty much, you got to go to online, search for those, how to vet those, right? So how you find those is probably go search online for tax deeds, right? And then find where, there's I don't know, like Arkansas, right? Arkansas is a good tax deed area, but quite a bit, my understanding over there is crappy properties. It's not the deeds that are there are not worth something. But I found practically myself that what I thought was, I got this 80K property for $10,000, and then I find out it's a land. It's not even freaking property. Although everywhere it says it's a, I don't know, 2-3 bedroom house. So that's the problem. So finding that's a whole, deep dive topic. So yeah, basically that's how the basics of it are, there's resources available online. You go find those. But the tricky part is, how do you vet those? Who do you call? All that stuff is much more deep. More, I'm actually learning that stuff myself right now. That's what he's teaching me, because if I knew what to do there, I wouldn't need his coaching. I wouldn't pay a lot of chunk of change I paid for the coaching. It's a pretty good chunk of change I paid for it. So yeah, he's teaching me how to vet those. How do you verify if it's even worth bidding for? Right. So all that stuff is critical, because finding the properties is one thing, but 90% of might be just crap. There's not worth much.
Yeah.
They might be empty lots, right? But you go Google it, Zillow says it's a 3-bedroom, and then you go there's nothing there. There's an empty lot, which is not worth much, not worth that 70-80K you thought. Maybe it's worth 5,000-10,000. Which is less than what the taxes are owed on it. So,
right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the tricky part is, you go search online, you can do that, tax deeds. And then, you can find those listed, different counties have different listings. It's a lot of research there. And then, then you have to vet it. And that's the tricky part, how to vet them, how to find that, I learned the lesson there too, that I spent money on doing the research. After I talked to my coach, he showed me, where to do it without any money.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
good.
oh, okay, I should have talked to you first.
Definitely. That's what you're paying him for
So
too.
that's a critical thing. So I would say mentor, somebody who knows tax, because it's a pretty big, lot of information on it. There might be books on it. I haven't read books on it. Like you, same thing. That's what I understood. Tax liens, not tax deeds. I knew you could make them into tax deeds, but if the person didn't pay or whatever after a certain number of years, you can do that. But I didn't know that there's straight off tax deed sales where you can buy these off pennies on the dollar. Well, like I said, the trick part is finding those gold nuggets in the lot of the dirt.
Right. Totally. And so could you give us your most recent milestone in real estate?
Recent milestone is I've done the 2 JV deals. So one is hopefully coming to fruition soon. Now the JV deals is joint venture. Technically it says joint venture, but I didn't do crap on it, nothing. It's basically a friend of mine. Again, same thing. I've known him for a year and a half now. He's giving me he's taking care of everything. Even the loan is on his name, and I'm just getting part of the profit.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what I'm doing. So that's where, when you connect with people, you build those relationships, you can trust them, then, because that's an important factor, because I've introduced him to my friends of mine, but they didn't invest with him because they were waiting for me to invest first.
Wow.
And that's how I kind of started. Okay, dude, I think I have to do one with you, because I'm introducing to a lot of people. None of them are ready to do it because they don't see anybody they know I'm invested with you. So, all right, I'm going to trust you and do it. And then,
well, that's great.
So-
And look, your network is your net worth. We keep saying
pretty
it.
much.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty much. Yeah.
So right. So let's do it. Let's get into the lightning round.
Mhm.
We got 4 questions, and then they're gonna get increasingly harder. So I hope you're ready.
Mhm.
So first, what superpower would you want if you could choose any superpower?
Being in the moment now, always, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's an attainable one too. If you try pretty hard, or hone your skills and your mindset. So it's a good one.
Mhm.
So what's your favorite book, or what's the one that helped you most? I know we've mentioned a few, but any others?
Yeah, other than Think and Grow Rich, it's a hard choice between Conversations with God, Untethered Soul. And I'm kind of also leaning towards The Greatest Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Untethered Soul, and because Power of Now was great too, but Untethered Soul just blew my mind.
Yeah.
After Think and Grow Rich. And then Conversations with God, the second or third reading is starting to blow my mind over and over again. The first time was good, but the second, third time I started reading it, whenever I read it, it like really elevates me. Like it puts me in a high spirit.
Yeah,
It's an
that's how I feel
amazing
about the
book.
Untethered Soul.
Yeah, Untethered Soul.
If I read every morning, I think every day would be the best day.
Uh-huh.
So actually, I should read it again. But yeah, I've read a bunch of those books all around the same time. I knew about how to win friends and influence people, but I hadn't read it until you were like, yo, read this. Like, it's time to read it. And I read it, and it was revolutionary. I just loved picking up the phone with a smile. That was my favorite piece of advice, just like exuding positivity. And I think it fits in with the law of attraction well, and like being positive, and you attract positive people, and then it feeds your positivity, and it's a positive feedback loop, and it just like helps life be, you create meaning through it. So
yeah, I made cold calls, 700, 800 cold calls because of those principles.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I've been doing that also, because I've had a bunch of cold calling in my past few years in real estate. But yeah, it's awesome. So what motivates you every day?
Just what I'm looking, my future, who I'm going to be in the future. Matthew McConaughey said it the best. His hero is the 10 years future him. So yeah, that's what motivates me. What am I going to be in the future, or what I'm looking to be in the future?
You know what? This is a good opportunity to mention something that I've never told anyone to this, but it's not a secret. So why not? I actually do this thing where whenever I feel like it, I'll record a thing called Note to Self, which where I talk to my future self and
Mhm.
just, tell them about what's going on now. And like, I can't wait to look back on it and see like how far I've come and how far I've grown. And just like, it's a way of keeping a journal without, I think a journal is a little bit harder to get the full experience. I mean, you obviously can't really get it with audio either, but I think I just like doing it, and I haven't listened back to on any of them yet. But I'm waiting for a time where I'm just like, wow, like look at that silly kid, or wow, like look at what he's thinking. Like he just came up with the epiphany that made him a millionaire or whatever. So that's
Yeah.
that's
Hey, you might write a book like Matthew McConaughey wrote. He wrote a book because of his journals.
yeah, exactly, yeah, maybe. So
Mhm.
what advice? The last one is what advice would you give to someone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Ah, I'll follow in my footstep. I would say do it earlier. I mean, like, um, biggest thing is like someone like you, right? Like, learn from you is you're getting into personal development and everything very early in your life.
Mhm.
And that is like a game changer, which is what I actually have shared that with Adam too. Like, man, dude, you're big, awesome, man. You're already there where I wanted to be a long time
Yeah,
ago. So
thanks.
yeah, you're starting early, right? If you're listening, doesn't matter real estate, whatever you do, get into personal development, read books constantly, even 10 minutes a day, every day. Do it.
I do.
Do it
Yeah, I do
now.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. You can do it like I do it every morning, starting, my bathroom material is personal development books. I mean, whatever works, right? Whatever works for you, do it.
Yeah, I agree. Because when I read personal development books, I like have these epiphanies, and I'm like, wow, like someone who's 55 in a midlife crisis just had the same epiphany, and now I'm going to spend the next 35 years knowing what he just figured out, and like
Exactly.
then that gives me this like feeling of elation, like how powerful I am, to know that like I'm setting myself up on a life of fulfillment and you know meaning, and it's yeah. So I can't recommend it enough.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wait, by the way, I'm turning 55 this year. So
Yeah, look at that. Imagine me on the other side of the table one day. I can
uh-huh.
imagine how many
Exactly.
books I have to say. It's like, oh, you asked me about books, and I just go like 100 books. But yeah, so since I put you on the spot with the lightning round, I want to give you a chance for revenge. So ask me anything you'd want to know about me.
Um, I guess yeah. What got you to jump onto essentially real estate then? Who inspired you?
Yeah, I have a lot of inspirations. One of my biggest inspirations is the fact that my mother is a real estate attorney and has been I've been overhearing the lingo ever since I was a baby, pretty
Mhm.
much probably in the womb on conference calls. So I've always been around it and I'm absorbing it in that sense. But her clients are like pretty big companies, like I don't want to name specifics, but big ones like Blackstone and
Mhm.
Tishman, or these big developers. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize that individuals could own real estate and own commercial real estate. So when I realized that syndication was a thing, I was like, oh my God, like the game has changed. Like I can be in some of these commercial deals that I thought were exclusive to institutions.
Mhm.
So I guess another one of my inspirations would be Anthony Scandariato, who is the first person I interviewed on this podcast. And
Mhm.
he introduced me to the world of syndication and multifamily with his podcast, Discovering Multifamily, which I've listened to probably every episode. But yeah, so that's where I guess somewhere along that line, I've been, I guess, or since my bar mitzvah, I've been investing in the stock market.
Mhm.
And then I started realizing, like, look at all these people who I'm investing in. Like, I don't even know them. It's like I'm supposedly supposed to just trust them to create the value that is my investment. Or I realized that I started wanting to be the person who creates value for my own investments.
Mhm.
So I feel like real estate is one of the best conduits to add value. And it's just why I'm trying to invest mostly in real estate, because I think it's just the best way to add value to the world. Along with take advantage of a lot of incentives and benefits and
lifestyle and aligns with my lifestyle of wanting to have passive cash flow so I can spend time doing what I want with the people I want.
Gotcha. Well, what's the biggest lesson you learned so far?
Oh my God, there's so many, and I guess we have to narrow it down. So let's
One
say,
lesson.
yeah, one. Well, you know what? Let's go with your network is your net worth. Because honestly, without without networking, I wouldn't have learned. I wouldn't, or I guess even like listening to podcasts in a way is networking, and definitely creating a podcast is networking. But I wouldn't know some of these books that have been like essential to my life. I wouldn't have met the person who told me to listen to Anthony's podcast. I wouldn't have learned about syndication. I wouldn't have met Adam Carswell or Hunter. I wouldn't have gone to this real estate conference that I went to in January. And, all these things are like crucial parts of my life and my journey through education and learning and investing in real estate. So ultimately, it all roots from networking, and I'm never going to stop. And I hope anyone who hasn't started starts and continues because it's great.
Yep, that's a great lesson.
Awesome,
man. Well, great. Great talking to you, man. I look forward to hearing what this comes out of this, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited for my future as well, and for staying connected. And how could people reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Best is LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, and I believe all professionals should connect on LinkedIn. At least I know there's politics going on LinkedIn, which is an issue. You don't want to speak out of turn, I guess, over there. But LinkedIn is still the best professional. I don't get on other social media platforms that much. Facebook, I'm there, but I don't do much on Facebook. So LinkedIn, Raju Datla. Reach out to me. I love to see what value I can provide to anybody, either real estate or my services business, either way,
Awesome.
Whatever I can do to help. Heck, even IT side, if I can provide anybody some information about IT, let me know, I guess. Yeah, whatever you guys, anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm open to, as long as you're not selling me something. So I'll take it, I'll buy it, but let's not sell first, let's become friends first, and then then we can sell it to each other.
Yeah, and becoming friends first, even if you were trying to sell something, is a better way, because I realized even if your product can do a million things, you just got to figure out the one thing that your product solves in terms of the one problem that the person you're talking to has. Once you know that, all the other features don't even matter. It only matters if you solve the problem. So yeah, exactly. I totally resonate with that. And look, we're in the sign off, and we still got some wisdom to share.
Great.
So all right, Raju, it's been a pleasure, and hope everyone, or thank you to everyone who spent their time with us, and looking forward to the next episode. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, man.